is John Paul Rai. I'm coming to you from Tokyo, Japan, and today I'm talking about a tweet from Laura B. By the way, if you don't know who Laura B is, she will be linked in my description down below for good now because she's doing a great job covering the Johnny Depp case, and I use her tweets quite often, so thank you, Laura. Now, to get into it, Amber Heard has subpoenaed more officers to court, and it seems like this time what she's saying is that when the cops got there to the scene where she allegedly got abused by Johnny Depp, the cops said, "Who's Amber? Which one's Amber?" She's saying they didn't know who Amber was. But wait a minute. If Amber was so bruised and battered around from this horrible experience, wouldn't it be obvious who Amber is? I mean, Josh is a guy. Anyway. So, seems a little silly to me. I've got some pretty good tweets here. In this Twitter thread, some people not only had questions, but I found a lot of good insight and speculation, more than usual. So, let's get into that. Here we go. So, here's the tweet from Laura B that started the thread. Update: Johnny Depp vs. Amber Heard, Fairfax. Amber has now subpoenaed the second set of officers from May 21st, Officer William Gatlin, deposition, November 22nd, Officer Christopher Diener, deposition, November 23rd. Sheila says, I do not understand her lawyer's reasoning with all this. Glutton for punishment maybe, or just plain stupid. EM or ACLU should ask for their money back. Laura responds, they have no other choice but to attempt to discredit the police officers. Their body cam and testimonies are slam dunks evidence she lied. They all lied that night. So yeah, Laura brings up a good point. I mean, even if Amber's lawyers are trying to be fair lawyers and practice fairly, they've really got no choice but to try to discredit the officers there, or else that body cam evidence just convinces any logical, reasonable, fair person that Amber did not get abused that night. I'm not defending her lawyers, but I guess I could see if they're gonna do their job and they're paid to try to win the case, that's what they have to do. And it should be noted they get paid anyway, no matter what happens. And Nibs says, and shout out to Nibs by the way, she comments here all the time, narcissists lie and assume everyone lies. I'm sure AH doesn't understand how Mr. Depp's witnesses keep telling the exact same story. Narcissists embellish because they can't remember what they said, so they try to draw your attention to irrelevant details. And Red Like Jungle says, so presumably she's hoping to take the sting out of the body cam footage by suggesting the worst of the mess had been cleaned up and the officers didn't stay long enough or examine the premises or her thoroughly enough. I hope they kick back very strongly. Who, in their right mind, who isn't a complete effing idiot, cleans up a mess after you've been abused, which would only make it so it was much more difficult for you to prove the abuse? Why would you clean up that mess? If that was me, if I'd gotten abused, sure, I'd be emotional. Sure, I might make some irrational decisions, maybe some quick-handed decisions, but I would not clean up that mess. You know why? I don't like cleaning up messes anyway. I hate cleaning up messes. So if there was a mess that I needed as evidence I got abused, well, that's like the last mess I'd clean up. And Mia says she will claim that they didn't have a close look at her face and didn't inspect all condos. Why not? Because no one of those hoaxers offered to show them anything. Josh wouldn't even want to let them in because everything and everyone was okay except Johnny, but he was gone. And Corinne says she needs to be stopped. Should have been stopped with her games a long time ago. The officers didn't even know who she was. If your face is battered, she would have stuck out. Cops had to ask, who's Amber? It's all going to backfire on her. So what Karen is suggesting there and what she's explaining is what Amber is going to say is that the cops didn't even know who I was. So of course they didn't check the abuse. Which seems like a really adolescent, childish, shot in the dark, I'll try anything type of lie. Really? So on one hand, you're saying, I was abused. It was horrible. Look at these pictures, everybody. But you couldn't pick me out of 3 people who know my name, who have been called to the scene. That there's gotta be one of the darn dumbest things I ever heard. There you have it. I think a great thread. I think better than usual as far as comments that make you think, comments that point out things you might not have thought, and comments that actually have a little bit more content and value. I mean, there's obviously value in supporting Johnny and putting up hearts and things like that, but it's also good to think about what's going on more critically. Also, you gotta think, how many people is Amber Heard willing to throw under the bus and ruin normal people's reputations or seriously risk normal people's reputations for her own court case in which it looks like 99.9999999% says she's lying about the vast majority of things she says. She's willing to throw anyone under the bus. The cops, doctors, nurses, friends. Doesn't matter to her. So I'd find that to be pretty bad and pretty distasteful. You guys, of course, let me know what you think down below. Real quick, I gotta apologize. My sound might be a little disjointed because I'm recording in 2 different rooms. I live in Tokyo there, and there's like construction and motorcycles going by. So once in a while, I just gotta like switch up locations. There's like a truck right now, I don't know, putting in some cement block or something. Anyway, let's get to some shout outs because I think I missed them in the last few videos. Shout out to Lep, if that's how you say it. I see you here all the time for quite a few months now. Appreciate it. Shout out to Mary Turple, who's here all the time also. She's a member. Really appreciate the support, and you've needed a shout out for a while, so thank you so much, Mary. Shout out to Eve, who I see her all the time. Thank you so much, Eve. Really appreciate your support. And shout out to Don Dolan, who is also the Don of the Johnny community. Thank you so much. I appreciate you, my friend. Shout out to Joni, who's also a member here. I really appreciate it. Please try to get like a picture of yourself. That'd be nice. And final shout out to Jan Price. Appreciate it. She is also a member, and she's been supporting here for a very long time. So thank you, Jan. And if you're not subscribed here, consider it. I'm doing shout outs, special thanks, things like that. Celebrity news, That First Heard, Little Britney, whatever comes up I find interesting. And if you consider it and don't subscribe, I guess I'll be sad, but I'll get over it. See you next time.